So my name's John Grande. I pretty much got into skateboarding like probably so many other people, just playing the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. I started off in Argentina, so I asked my mum to get me the video game, and I think from that moment on I just had the bug. Once I was like, please just get me a skateboard, buy me a skateboard, and that's how it all happened really. I did have like skateboards before when I was like 8 years old or like 11 years old, but never really stuck with it. But I was like, once I had that video game, that's when I really got the bug for it. And then eventually I got my first proper skateboard in like 2003. And that's when I started skating officially. Yeah, definitely. It was quite pivotal for a lot of people, that game series. And like kind of from that game, like one thing has kind of like led to another, if you know what I mean. Like even if it was just researching some of the skaters that are in it, and then you find out about other skaters. Yeah. It's, you know, it's really cool, and about music as well.
From whatever era has informed your skating the most? What has influence on your skating?
I think personally the first person that comes to mind a lot of the time is just Mark Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Just because to me, like, Gons just is the embodiment of fun in skateboarding, and it's what it should be to me. It's just enjoying it. Like, you could put like the most technical, amazing skateboarding tricks in front of me, and I wouldn't really like be interested. But just show me Mark Gonzalez just walking around the street doing whatever, and it's enjoyable to watch, because that to me like captures the essence of skateboarding. And other people other than Mark Gonzalez I really enjoy and would just be like Jeff Grosso. Like and also like ever since his passing, it's like he's become more and more of an influence, you know, with his presence that he left and the mark that he left on skateboarding back when he was even doing all his interviews on YouTube and the Love Letter. The Why So Sad mission, yeah, that was so that is actually like a project that John Rattray heads. So John Rattray is a really well-known skateboarder from Scotland, and so a few years ago I know that his sister committed suicide, and that's what drove him into do some research into depression and suicide prevention, and he used skateboarding as a way of fundraising in the same way that people do all other types of fundraising through sport for a certain cause. And John's way of doing it was through skateboarding. He started doing it with the Good Egg mission, where people were doing eggplants, and then he went to the Why So Sad mission. So the Why So Sad mission, the reason why it was called Why So Sad, because there's a trick in skateboarding called a sad plant, which is a hand plant, but it's just tweaked completely forward. Invented in the Sadlands, first like kind of spotted. It was done by Lance Mountain, and I think Neil Blender was the one that spotted it, and hence why it got the name the Sad Plant, because it was done in the Sadlands. Okay. In the US in a spot. And so the reason why that happened, like kind of my friend Parry said to me, look, you've got a good sad plant, why don't you get involved in this? So like doing sad plants to kind of raise awareness about mental health issues and suicide prevention, in the same way that, you know how people grow a mustache in Movember and raise awareness about men's health. It was like we were doing that through skateboarding, and it became even a little bit more prominent that year in 2019 when we got completely shook by like the suicide of Ben Ramers that nobody was like expecting at all. And at that time I was struggling myself mentally as well with my mum was dying of cancer, and my mum died that year. So my only outlet for me was skateboarding, my friends, and even just having that focus on that one thing, that sad plant, like that trick is what actually helped ease a lot of the struggles that I was going through at that time in my life. So that's what skateboarding has kind of been for me. It's like a form of escapism for a long time. It gives me somewhere to go when there is nowhere, like when everything else sucks, basically. It's like a safe haven, you know. You can just, like in the same way that Grosso said, like there is a moment where it's just you and it, meaning your skateboard, and nothing else matters. You just get taken to a completely different place and you're just not thinking about anything. No matter how bad your day was, no matter like how much you're struggling in life, as long as you're having a good time with a skateboard, like you suddenly just, everything's okay. Everything's okay, and it's all just being caused by this little wooden toy. That's just, I don't know, it helps so many. Yes, it is, yeah, because I think, of course, it's always been like, skaters have always kind of been known like to not have like the cleanest of lifestyles, I suppose. And there's been a little bit more of an awareness now, because we hear of people in podcasts talking about how they've had like a recovery from drug addiction, alcohol addiction, any kind of addiction, how they struggle, and then they just went into this health kick and they became super focused, and they realized that that kind of lifestyle that they either got into through skateboarding or the wrong crowd was not the right path for them. And then you find out there are people that turned away from that, and they're the ones that are still skating. And yes, it's become a little bit more popular thanks to social media, and like I say, to podcasts as well, with people with stories about what happened to them and how it went. There is certainly a bit more of a focus on that now, and I think that's really good. I think it's really good, definitely. Yeah, I mean, skateboarding's got a lot of subcultures as well. There are so many different types of skateboarders within skateboarding that everyone kind of everyone's got a clique or some crew to be part of. Struggles in skateboarding are definitely getting older. Getting older as time goes by and realizing you can't do things like you used to be able to do them. I mean, even though I've said that, you know, that the biggest struggles have probably been getting older, skating, it's also been a driving force of trying to like still prove to myself that I can do things like I used to be able to do, or even better. And yeah, the struggles are like, you see people come and go, like people that you used to skate with that are not skating anymore. But the cool thing about it is that you can just skate with anybody as well. So you're never really going to truly be alone when you're skateboarding, just because it's such a social sport as well. It's very individual to everybody, but there's a certain sense of community and togetherness within skateboarding that like a lot of people have experienced a lot of the time. Because 9 times out of 10 you could just walk into any skate park, and if you're lucky enough and the atmosphere is right, like you can just talk to anyone there.
Yeah.
And yes, I mean, a lot of my injuries have been like ligament and soft tissue damage. I haven't like broken anything, touch wood, but that's all that I've done. Like it would be like torn ligaments, hyperextensions on shoulders and anything like that, rolled ankles, sprained wrists, like being out of skating for months, and mental blocks. Well, I suppose I would call it like maybe like stagnant periods where it all starts to feel a little bit repetitive, and that can happen, but you've just got to be patient with yourself and find time to find that spark again a lot of the time, because that can happen a lot of the time in skating, because you think that you're not progressing, and there seems to be a little bit of that obsession sometimes with wanting to progress and do something better and never really being satisfied entirely. But there's also taking some time to appreciate what you can do and seeing if you can do it better or somewhere else or somewhere fun. Like I remember talking to a friend once, and we were saying how even if you just went to a different skate park and you do all the same tricks that you always do, it just feels like you're doing new tricks. So that's where the kind of like mental block is kind of like forgotten about. Sometimes come back later, adjust it. I mean, now we're very lucky that we've got like mobile phones with cameras, so if I can sometimes look at tricks that I'm filming and like seeing what I'm doing wrong and trying to figure it out that way. But sometimes I know I'm just like very stubborn, and I will try and keep trying something until I get it. It's gonna get to a point though, it's like, okay, I've hurt myself way too many times doing this, I should probably stop now. Because otherwise it's hard to develop that that sound reasoning where you go, come on man, you got to stop because you're gonna get hurt really bad now. But what at the end of the day, what's driving you to just push through that, it's just the passion and the love for it, you know. Yeah, yeah, I ride for Alter Skate Shop, yeah.
What was it like being sponsored by them, and how has it affected your approach to skating? Or
it's certainly like giving me a massive boost. Like I'm extremely grateful that Chris has given me that opportunity to be in Alter Skate Shop. It's kind of like a little bit of a childhood dream, you know, just to like be sponsored in any shape or form. My friend Dan actually was the one that said like, why aren't you like riding for Alter Skate Shop? Surely you could get on there. And at one point on Instagram, Chris had put like a question sticker on an Instagram story saying, who's your favorite rider for Alter Skate Shop? Who do you think should ride for him? And then I sent that to Dan as a joke, like, now's the time. And he said like, RG John, why is he not on there? And then Chris tagged me in that story and he said, you're not sponsored? And I was like, no, I'm not. And he was like, do you want to be? I was like, oh fuck yeah, sounds really good. So that's how it happened. And in the way that, yeah, it's affecting my skating is that it just makes me want to do more, because I want to just give that back to Chris as well, which is extremely important, just because I know how important skate shops are. Running a business myself, even though it's not a skate shop, I know what the struggles are like. So even if I can help Chris in any sort of way by just posting a video or just sharing what he does in any shape or form, then I know I'm at least playing my part in skateboarding in some way. As much as I do love a nice, clean, smooth skate park, there's a certain charm to something that's like rough and ready and very DIY. Even like places like the Tottenham skate park in London, that's like very completely DIY. You got Bloblands as well in London, that's a very DIY stuff. I have also been to like I think it's Spotter in Barcelona on Babilla. I think I like those places just a little bit more, just because it's like, again, it's going back to that was made by skateboarders with the interest of skateboarders as well, and it was made with love. Of course, like other more developed skate parks are made for those purposes as well, but those DIY places just already carry a certain energy that it's hard to explain. It's just in the air that you can feel it when you go there, which I'm sure that a lot of people could identify with that as well. I mean, Crystal Palace, I actually really like it, because I think it's probably because it's got a special place in my heart, because when I went to Crystal Palace in 2021, I landed like a certain type of invert, which is an eggplant, for the first time in like 12 years. So I quite like it because it's just divided into different sections and different areas and where people want to skate. There's a place for, you got the pool, that's just for pool skaters, and you've got the bowl, that's just for like the park skaters, and then you've got the other street course, so it's a little bit of in between. So there's a bit for everyone. I think it was a cool design, and one can flow into the other as well. Yeah, I would say still hand plants, still inverts, trying to get them on more vert stuff, on bigger stuff. And to be honest, everything is a work in progress a lot of the time, but it would mainly be that trick that I'm still working on, because it's one of my favorite tricks as well.
What advice would you have for people trying to learn a hand plant, whether it's on the floor or if it's up around?
It's not about physical strength. It's not about how strong you are. Just keep at it. Be ready to fall over a lot. Be ready to get hurt. Work your way up to it. Build your way up. Unless you can actually commit to it straight away, and you're one of those people that's absolutely mental and just do a invert on coping first try with no experience. Watch anyone that's good at inverts as well. Do your research on skaters that are good. Like, go from the 80s skaters and the people that try and emulate the skaters from that time when inverts were everywhere. Watch the trick tips, pick at everything that you can. You can't study a trick too much, because you can literally just try and break down a trick until it's literally nothing, if you know what I mean. You pick at every single thing about it, and eventually it will click.
What was the hardest part of doing hand plant for you? Like,
I think the fear is always a thing with skateboarding. I think that's just like a prominent issue for a lot of people. It's being scared, and like breaking that's the wall that you gotta break through to be like, oh, okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was. Or you hit the floor, you get really hurt, and you go, I think I'm gonna get hit a few more times. I think I'll be all right. And that's how it is. That's how it works for me, because sometimes I'm not one of those people that, not that I hurt myself on purpose, but if I'm trying the trick and I don't know how painful it's going to be if I fall over, that pain is kind of like a way of gauging like how ready I am to commit towards it.
51 opening. How has 51 opening affected your skateboarding then?
It's given me a sense of commitment, somewhere to go and see my friends, mainly because a few of my friends work here. It's given me a social aspect to my life, because you wouldn't really see me dead in a pub, you know, like the skate park's the pub to me, you know, like that's my social hub, going to a skate park. It's given me somewhere to go more than anything, and somewhere again to forget about things, and it's helped my skating as kind of like a training ground, like a training facility, I suppose, in some way, because some of the ramps are a little bit scarier, some of them are a little bit more basic, but that's in the way that it has improved my skating in some respect, because there are different ramps that cater for different things that I want to do as well. I sometimes get that. Not really here, not at all. It just depends, you know, how we were talking about the subcultures of like people that are like rough and ready and they think they're tough guys. Like, I know, because like I've been to Crystal Palace before and I looked in the pool and somebody sprayed like no pads. It's like, wow, like that's so fucking cool. Like, you just want to hurt yourself. Like, it's such a stupid argument to just be like, oh, look at that guy trying to not hurt himself so he can skate more. It doesn't make any sense in my mind. Like, if you're wearing pads and it's just going to keep you skating for longer, then wear pads. It doesn't even matter. Like, because sometimes there'll be people wearing pads that skate even better than you. So like, and that's the case. Other times, however, people just think, oh, I don't like wearing pads because of mobility. But sometimes people might be a bit self-conscious and I think they might look a little bit silly in pads, which can also happen. But honestly, like, it's natural. Like, a lot of people get really anxious. It's understandable, but like at the end of the day, everyone's there for the same reason. And even if you are struggling to learn something, or you feel like a little bit of a noob whilst you're skating, everybody was once the beginner. So there's no point in judging anybody. Everybody was once in the same shoes as a person that's just like terrified at a skate park. So that's why you should be kind to everyone. Yeah, I mean, people will always argue like, oh, so what's the point? Because people still get concussions wearing a helmet and all of that. But it's like, yeah, the concussion would be a lot worse without one. You know, so it's like, you could discuss it forever. You know, and the other thing that happens a lot, you know, skateboarding is such a huge melting pot of everything and anything you can think of. You know, we got people that talk about fitness, we got people that talk about music, got people that talk about fashion. So many things influence that as well, and because it's so dictated by style, and style is so huge in skateboarding, it's such a massive thing. Like I said, if you show me the most technical trick ever done by somebody, no matter how difficult, if it wasn't done with any style, I'm not interested, in the nicest way possible. And that's probably also what happens. People think they might not look stylish enough wearing pads or something like that, you know, that's probably it. Because I have heard friends that are like, oh, I don't really like these shoes, I don't really like these trousers, or this, oh, I don't feel right skating like this or skating in these. And it's like, you're fine. It's how you feel, because if you watch a skate video and say your favorite skater is wearing Vans, you're gonna want a pair of Vans. That's how it works. If they're skating that board, you're gonna want that board, because in your mind you just think, if I look exactly like him, I might be able to skate like him. And it's like, no, it doesn't work, trust me, I've tried. I mean, I come, board wise, I come from the generation of popsicles, of popsicle shapes. Because I grew up skating in the early noughties, where that's all there was, you know, you skated 7.5 or 7.75, and if you got an 8-inch board, like, you had a boat. And now all of a sudden people are skating these like 9 1/4 boards and whatever. I've only just now like moved onto a different shape entirely, just because I was so bored of popsicles, and it took like nearly 20 years for that to happen. And that again is down to watching people that I like skating and looking at what their boards look like, and it's like, oh, if I have a board like that, I might feel like skating a certain way, you know, when it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, because back in the early noughties, when Tony Hawk was like doing the 900 and stuff like that, I think they were doing technical tricks and vert on an 8-inch board or an 8.25 board. So it's not like, oh, if you want to skate vert, you need this like absolute estate car under your feet. Yeah. You know, it's not like that. I think some people can skate absolutely anything. I've seen the most ridiculous videos of people doing stuff on penny boards that doesn't make any sense. So you can skate anything. I get it. There are certain logistics that do affect how a skateboard performs, that do make sense, and that's a completely different rabbit hole that we could talk about. But yeah, you just skate what you like and what feels good. If it feels good to you, then that's right for you.
So what's next for you then, skateboarding wise?
To try and skate for as long as physically possible, literally, and to experience as many different things in skateboarding as possible, no matter how or what it takes in some way. Yeah, I mean, I would like to eventually go to America and skate at some point. Just have to wait and see what happens. I would love to, yeah. We have to see what happens. I mean, I have talked with some friends about some trips to other parks, and I haven't even been to like Concrete Waves yet in Cornwall, for example. I gave me that nickname because obviously in the winter I got a membership to come here, and I always skate the concrete floor, just because I was like, well, it's so hard to skate and it's so scary to me, I'll stay here and hopefully I'll get better at it. And sometimes it's been like known that I'd be the only person in the floor, and then Jamie came along and he came downstairs and he was like, you are a proper bowl troll, aren't you? So I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. A little bit like Gollum in Lord of the Rings at the bottom of the mines. So that's why I just thought, well, bowl troll's going on my board. Five skaters in the bowl.
Just any park in general?
Oh, any park in general.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't really know. It would probably be a vert ramp, or possibly a backyard bowl, but it's going to have to be a mix between a vert ramp and a backyard pool. Like, it would have to be Lance Mountain. Well, it would be one of them. Grosso, Sauber, obviously Tony Hawk for like he's the reason why I'm skateboarding. Gons as well. So we've got Grosso, Gons, Lance Mountain, Sauber, Tony Hawk. Yeah, I think that's a pretty cool list. I mean, there would be way more on that list if I could be, but if it's five, yeah, those are the first five that came into my mind.